Gotcha! Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Monster Hunter World video. It's me, Mr. Gameconomist, and I've returned after a 4-year hiatus to make yet again another weapon popularity video. Take a look at this. The last time we made our weapon popularity video was back in March of 2020. Holy Jesus, dude. We used to make that video a lot, huh? So this was a video that we would make every couple of months for like 2 years, I want to say. Maybe it was like every 3 months we'd make it. And it would show which weapons were most popular back in the day. Here we are. Using the data from the first Wyverian, we could gather this information here to see what people were playing, how usage was changing. Like, look, it says, according to this, that bow usage had gone from 13% to 14%, dual blades 8 to 9. You know, so we could actually track this information over time and see how weapons are improving or becoming less popular based on little tweaks in the game and maybe like the Iceborne update and all this other stuff. So we can do this again 4 years later. It's actually longer than 4 years later because it's September of 2024. So if we were gathering in March of 2020, here we are. If we were gathering in March of 2020, that was a really long time ago. What does this show? Yeah, look at this. Wow, we were gathering all the way back up here. These are unlisted ones. Check that out. So I took some of them down. But yeah, if you scroll back up, this went on for a while. This was 127,000 views just to see which weapons were popular. So here we go again. By the way, what do you think I'll make for the thumbnail? I did a sword and shield for the very last one. But let's go back to this. So I've gathered up the data with the help of some people in Discord. I want to give them shout outs, proper recognition. We have Mr. Bolo gave us PC data. Shout out to Mary as well. She also got us the PC data and it matched. So that's really good because these two people don't know each other. So we were able to confirm that, yeah, the system's working basically. If you log into their system and look for the first Wyverian and gather that data, it matches. So here's the list, but we don't want to just see these numbers. What we really want to see is how it compares to last time. So here's the real picture you want. Now, you know, listen to me, check this out. Weapon popularity in March 2020 versus September 2024. Longsword has gone up. This is a pattern you're going to see with all the systems. Longsword went from 20 to 23. Greatsword has gone up. Again, this is another common pattern. You're going to see this, I think, on all three of them. Greatsword went from 9% to 11% to take second place. Then we got dual blades in third place. They went up. Again, another pattern you're going to see. Dual blades, very popular. Longsword, greatsword, dual blades, very popular with, I don't know, just the people who play now. 8% to 9%. Here's another pattern you're going to see. The bow falls from 13 to 9%. So weirdly enough, just every console kind of has this problem. And then we have Charge Blade falling a little bit. He's in 5th place now. So he went from 10% to 8%. Then we got Insect Glaive. It went 7% to 8%. So it's actually gone up. Insect Glaive usage has gone up over 4 years. A couple have stayed the same. Heavy Bowgun, Hammer, and Switch Axe are all the same. 7, 8, and 9. So Heavy Bowgun is 7, Hammer's 8, Switch Axe is 9. They've all stayed at 7.55%. Okay, so very interesting. Then we have a little change over here. Light Bowgun and sword and shield do a little swap-a-rooney, right? So Light Bowgun goes from 5 to 4. Sword and shield goes from 3 to yeah, okay, I said that right. So I was going out of order. So sword and shield goes up from 11th place to 10th place from 3 to 4, and then Light Bowgun moves down to 11th place from 10th. And he goes from 5% to 4%. Again, you're going to see this pattern where Light Bowgun, Sword and Shield, Gun Lance, Hunting Horn, and Lance, these are always in the lower quadrant. For whatever reason, people just don't use these as much. And we can talk about this in the comment section. I'd love to hear your comments on this. Sword and Shield, why am I using Sword and Shield when I can just use Dual Blade, right? A little knife, but instead of a useless shield, another little knife. Light Bowgun, why am I using Light Bowgun when I can use the bow? Or the Heavy Bowgun. And the Gun Lance. I think that the Gun Lance and the Lance probably always suffer because you got to have good shield items, skill gems, whatever they're called. So, but you know, for being so defensive, ironically, many of these other weapons, like the bow with this dodge, or the very popular longsword with this iframe, you know, counterattacks, just feels way more defensive. It just does. But those are just my thoughts. But Gun Lance, you'll notice there's been a reorganization in this last quadrant, even though the numbers still match. So Lance is the only one. It moves from 3 down to 2%, right? But take a look at this. Gun Lance and Hunting Horn both move up. So what's going on here, I think these have to continue to be used at the same rate, and Lance has to be used less. Something like that, I'm not sure. But so Lance has moved down, pushing the other two up. Hunting Horn stays at 2%. Lance moves down to 2%. That's another pattern you're going to see with all the consoles. Thank you, Bolo. Shout out to Mary. Now we move on. Let's see. Oh yeah, I was taking a look at this Monster Hunter World leaderboards, so we'll probably be taking a look at some speedruns in future content. If you guys want to take a look at speedruns and do some analysis and breakdowns, be sure to smash that subscribe button and smash that bell button so you know when I make new content, okay? So here we go, and you know, this episode brought to you by my other YouTube channel, The Cardconomist. If you guys didn't know that, I'm also another YouTuber, this guy over here, see this? So this is why I'm also busy. I work on 2 YouTube channels, and it is busy day. Hey, what is this? All right, let's grab this. People playing around the Gen Chat. So, we are moved on to PlayStation. Let's look at the PlayStation data. So, we'll see that the longsword has moved up on the PlayStation from 19% to 24%, and it just stays in first place. So, the weapon diversity got worse. Over time, players just said, longsword's the best. Why would I use any other weapon? So, 19 to 24 is a massive 5% point increase. Greatsword went from 11 to 12, so once again, you see the Greatsword going up. And then take a look at this. The bow used to be in 3rd place on the PlayStation 4 in 2020, goes through a massive drop to just 6% usage. So it goes from 10 to 6. Take a look at that. That's crazy. That means people are not liking the bow. It is confirmed bow is not as popular as we thought it was. Bow takes a big drop. Dual blade, it was at like 9% on the PC, wasn't it? But it still took a pretty decent drop on the PC. So over here in 3rd place, we have dual blades again. Very interesting, longsword, greatsword, dual blade kind of pattern, right? And dual blades are up by 1%. Insect glaive is up by 1% to 8%. So dual blade, then insect glaive. So once again, we see dual blades go up, insect glaive go up. So a couple weapons have this sort of like popularity going on for them. We see a reduction in charge blade. He goes from 8% to 7%. You know, I was always surprised that the charge blade did so well because I felt like it was a more complicated weapon to use that really required for like kind of like good RNG. Not only did you have to react well and think about the correct attack pattern all the time, but it's like when you're using your final attack where you shoot out all the files, whatever they're called, the monster kind of had to sit there as it went through the full attack, the commitment, whatever it is. The monster kind of had to sit there. So I just felt like some of these other weapons that have less commitment, I was surprised Charge Blade was doing so well compared to them. Right, like the bow doing so well back in 2020 wasn't a surprise because it was a very reactive weapon with a very low commitment per attack. Okay, and then we see heavy bowgun in 6th place with a 7% usage. Very steady. Heavy bowgun right in the middle. Hammer right in the middle with the 6% usage. Switchblade up a little bit by 1% right in the middle. There's the bow. So the bow falls all the way to 9. That's below the 50% point. Bow is unpopular for PlayStation players. It almost doesn't feel right. It's just not what I'm used to because we tracked this for 2 years in the past. Then we got also a significant change. Light bowgun falls from 8% all the way down to 5%. That does not surprise me. I was a very heavy bowgun user. I never really understood the passion for light bowgun. It was just, to me, it was just like worse heavy bowgun except for elemental ammo. Okay, and then we have Sword and Shield moves up from 3% to 4%, so slight increase in usage there. We see the gun lance actually fall on the PlayStation, so he goes from 11 to 13th place with 4% down to 3%. The lance stays the same. Okay, so lance going above gun lance. So, and I think this is the only platform where lance manages to do that. So lance at 3% here, and then the poor hunting horn sitting at 2%. Wow. So PlayStation, lance, gun lance, hunting horn, super unpopular. You can't say much good stuff about light bowgun and sword and shield either. They're just a little bit more popular. The bow falling below the 50% point. Surprise, surprise. What do you think about that, guys? Also, insect glaive kind of going up on the list. Very interesting. And longsword users dominating. Okay, that's PlayStation. Next up, we've got the Xbox. The Xbox probably has the smaller user base, if you had to guess. So this is fun to look at because I would bet PlayStation has the largest user base, or it could be PC. We don't know. So it's either PC or it's PlayStation. It's one of those two. But take a look at this. Longsword usage shoots up to a massive 21% on the Xbox, following the exact same pattern. That is a bonus of 6% usage. The greatsword moves from 11% to 13%. The dual blades go down actually, but they still hold on to 3rd place. They were in 4th place, except that the insect glaive fell on the Xbox by a whopping 4%. So insect glaive went down to 4th place, and the dual blades went up to 3rd place. Right, here's a really interesting one. The hammer which was in 7th place before with the 7% usage, is all the way up to 5th place on the Xbox with the 9% usage. So Xbox players really got a bone to pick. They really like to use strong weapons, strength builds. Maybe it's the extra testosterone, since we all know the weeaboos are on the PlayStation. But anyway, 7% to 9% for the hammers. Switch axe has gone from 6% to 8%. Charge blade down from 10% to 8%. Heavy bowgun, which is least used on the Xbox. That's interesting, isn't it? Very strange. It used to be 4%, up to 5%. Sword and shield holding 4%. And there is again, the bow has fallen all the way down to 10th place on the Xbox. Absolutely blasted. Used to be 11% and 5th place in 2020. It's fallen all the way down to 10th place. So this is fun. The weapon popularity video is fun because we're actually seeing some things really change over time. Bow usage significantly falling. People did not like this weapon as much as you thought they did. According to the data on all 3 platforms. If it's happening on all platforms, then it is official in my opinion. The bow, not a popular weapon. Okay, and then we have hunting horn still, it's actually up on the Xbox from 1% to 2%, whoopee! And then the lance up from 1% to 2% as well. Gun lance holds on to its 2%, but is slightly less popular than the lance. And the light bowgun in last place on the Xbox. So interesting. We notice on the Xbox all the ranged weapons seem to be less popular. Light bowgun coming in at only 2% in last place. Below the lance and gun lance, light bowgun. People really didn't like light bowgun on the Xbox. Very fascinating. But also the bow falling down so far and less usage on the heavy bowgun. You would think that the Xbox players would really appreciate the gun weapons more. I don't know why, maybe because of Halo. But yeah, apparently Xbox players, they like the big strong weapons like greatsword and hammer. And so we have more to say on that in a moment. Stick around. Okay, so here we go. The next piece of data is we're going to use this one right here, this image here. And so what you're looking at here, I've taken all the information, added it together, and then divided it to get an average. So this is the average of all the platforms. Longsword in top spot, 22.6. Greatsword, dual blade in 3rd place. Dual blade. So this is the pattern. Longsword, greatsword, dual blade. Insect glaive in 4th place. Insect glaive popular. Charge blade in 5th. Hammer in 6th. Heavy bowgun in 7th. All right, so this feels about right. Yeah, charge blade, hammer, heavy bowgun. Switch axe in 8th place. Bow in 9th place. Falls below the halfway point. Not popular. Sword and shield, light bowgun, gun lance, lance, and hunting horn. Look at that abysmal hunting horn at 2%. Lance just above at 2.3. Gun lance just above the lance at 2.6, and then light bowgun ahead of both of those by a decent margin at 3.6. So there is the combined data. You really get a sense for all the weapons, and you know, in my gut, from playing the game for many thousands of hours, this just feels about right. This feels about right. This is what I'm expecting. Okay, and then we can take a look at this last piece of data, which shows them side by side. Some fun data here. Hunting horn, 2%, 2%, 2%. I was making that notice that this was ranked the worst across all systems. Over here on the PC, the standout piece of information is the bow ranked higher at 9%. Compare that to 9th place on the PlayStation, but then also the 10th place on Xbox. So for whatever reason, PC players like the bow a lot. So the bow is most popular on PC. Also, everyone appears to be a weeaboo, but nobody's a bigger weeaboo than the PlayStation users. Go figure. Konnichiwa! And then over here for the Xbox, I thought it was interesting that they had the most greatsword players, but also the most hammer players, since both of those weapons are kind of like larger, heavier style weapons with slower movement patterns. So there you go, big strong on the Xbox. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. A lot of these middle percentages don't change much between the systems, but they do a little bit. But yeah, those are the bow at 9%, the hammer at 9% over here. Greatsword, most usage on the Xbox. Longsword, most usage on the PlayStation. And there you have it. You have the weapon popularity video. Yes, I know there's no crazy background gameplay going on or anything, just hard data that we collected. Thank you, everyone. If you enjoyed this, smash that subscribe button and smash the bell. Leave a like and say something about the data we gathered. What did you find most interesting? And how would you like to see this video improve for the future? I'm Mr. Gameconomist, and I'm out.